Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is for the full moon in Sagittarius, which is happening on June 17th at 3:31 a.m. Central Standard Time. So, if I do my calculations, that means that even in Europe, it will be on the 17th, although obviously for those of you who are overseas, it's going to be, well, actually, it'll be only in the afternoon, I guess, because it's only maybe even the morning. 3 plus 6 equals 9, yeah. It'll be in the morning, too, and just be like a little bit at more of a decent hour than 3 in the morning. And if you are like in Australia, it'll probably be on the 18th. Wait a minute, what is it, 16 hours ahead? Oh, maybe that'll be in the 17th, too. That's always a possibility. Yeah, it'll just be at night, probably like 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night or something. And so at the time of a full moon, the sun is in the opposite sign. So the sun is at 25 Gemini, the moon is at 25 Sagittarius, and they are opposing one another, and this can be a time of relationship issues where there is a call for some kind of, I was going to say a truce, but it's really about integration, where you have two parties that are at, it's not even loggerheads, they're just at different extremes, and you want to bring two sides together. And in this particular opposition between Gemini and Sagittarius, we're talking about information. And this could be a time of the truth coming out. There are already things going on as I record this. I'm recording this on June 4th. And so this is going to be almost 2 weeks before the actual date that I am recording this. And who knows, by the time that the 17th actually gets here, there may be some news that has come out about some things that we were being kept in the dark about, that we were being told lies about, and I'm talking about as a collective. And so that certainly may come into being, and this may even be on a global scale, for sure. I realize the United States is in the center of the universe, but it seems that it is the catalyst for all of this. And Sagittarius is about truth, but there's a morality attached to it. Because the house that Sag rules, the 9th house, is the God house, and it's about, the moral values that keep us kind of cohesive, because the 9th house can be like the different belief systems, that exist with different religions. But there is like that common thread of believing in doing good and being above board. And so the moon in Sagittarius, the full moon can bring things to a head, can bring things out. Secrets can come out at the time of the full moon. And this is also a time where it's right before the solstice. So the energy is heightened also because it's going to herald some changes. we have in the northern hemisphere going into summer. We have the longest day of the year. And this is a power period. And we're talking about a few days before this, when the sun is so present for so many hours a day. It's a very energizing feeling. Or if you're in the southern hemisphere, where you feel like this is like the lowest it gets, and you're waiting for that resurrection, if you will, of the sun. Both two extremes, like I was just talking about the polarities, but they both kind of represent similar things, where it's about the shift from one height or depth, one coming down, one going up, and the kind of the exposure of some of the deception. And when that happens, there is a sense of clarity and also a sense of freedom, and Sag represents freedom. It's interesting, too, because Sag represents expansion, and this is why, part of that is global travel, and this could be like global news events coming out, things that affect the whole world, even if they seem to be concentrated in one particular area, like the United States. They have reverberations far, far away. And the sun is in Gemini, in a later degree of Gemini. And Gemini is about gathering information. Sagittarius is about taking that information and making sense of it in terms of the bigger picture. And the moon in Sagittarius is certainly not like the moon in Scorpio, which was the full moon that we experienced last month. And I wonder how people fared with that full moon. If there were major changes in your life, if you felt like you had to kind of let go of something or someone in order to kind of make your life go forward in a much smoother way. Because the moon in Sagittarius is more celebratory. Now, this is on a Monday night, so it's not really a great night for a party. But at the very least, you may be feeling jovial. Get it? Jove, Jupiter. And there is a generosity with this moon, where it, fire, this is fire energy, so there may be this feeling of positivity. The only risk or danger, if you will, is kind of like the Nine of Cups in the Tarot, is overdoing things, and that could mean even your attitudes, your feelings being a bit exaggerated and making decisions based on them. One nice thing is that there is a conjunction between the moon and Jupiter. Now, Jupiter, obviously Jupiter rules Sagittarius, so we have that connection right there. But Jupiter is retrograding at this time. And I was actually looking, I was saying, well, is it actually going to be considered a conjunction? Because Jupiter at this point is going to be 18 degrees of Sag, and then you have the moon at 25 Sag. And according to this aspects table, yes, it is a conjunction. And so to me, I mean, even like on the emotional level, if there is somebody that you have not given up on, by all means don't do that, because when Jupiter retrogrades, we may take advantage of something that kind of slipped through our fingers the first time around. And this could be in the love arena because of the emotional connection with the moon. However, maybe it is not. Maybe it is with some other kind of relationship where you are realizing that you don't want to give up on a friend. You don't want to give up on a, I don't know, co-worker. I don't know. But there is, like I say, there's a generosity with this moon. And Venus is going to be in Gemini, Mercury in Cancer, and Mars in Cancer. So, with Mercury and Mars in Cancer almost at an exact conjunction, there is a real desire to kind of communicate in a very direct way, and kind of an immediate, that's the word I was looking for, where you don't want to wait. You want to just say something. Again, I think that this could even play out more in terms of the media, where, and I'm talking about all of us as, potential citizen journalists, where we're kind of like reporting what we see. Now, if there is some kind of an event that develops that people are kind of documenting through their own recording devices, then there may be people who are talking about it on the street, for instance, and giving their 2 cents and reports. So any kind of protests or I don't want to say anything more ominous like, civil unrest. But, these could be very amazing times, but kind of like chaotic, depending on what goes down. And there may be this need for people just to kind of this unfiltered truth just spilling out. And Mercury in Cancer is really looking at it from, to me, almost like a nurturing point of view related to one's homeland. The 4th house is your homeland. And actually for the United States, Cancer is the sun sign of the United States. So this is about having that kind of connection to how we communicate. The patriotism. And Venus is in Gemini. This can be very flirtatious. This can be very fickle with love situations where people don't want to settle down. They want to just kind of be like a butterfly and sample all the flowers. But there's a lot of fun with this, a lot of light qualities. I think that overall, this is going to be kind of a lighter moon, notwithstanding anything else that is happening at a higher level, but just in terms of the energy of the moon itself, I think that whenever Gemini is involved, it is more playful, it is more fun, it is more spontaneous. And the thing about Cancer, I actually like this because it can lead to people having that sensitivity, because emotions might be heightened. Oh, well, they always are at the time of a full moon. But it's just very interesting how this may play out. And we do have some oppositions to Jupiter. We have the Sun opposing Jupiter, and we have Venus opposing Jupiter. The Sun opposing Jupiter can lead to ego problems where people who have a tendency to have an inflated sense of self, they may bristle at something, Maybe they were used to having their way about something, and they get put in their place, and they're like, how dare you? But there's just something going on where, in the Bible it says the last shall be first, right? And maybe there is something like that where the uprising of the everyday man and woman in terms of understanding their worth and that sense of empowerment, kind of like making it so that they are the ones who are the guests at the banquet table, if you will. And the people who have always thought that they were, the big shots, they may find out with this opposition to Jupiter that was just delusions of grandeur. The moon in conjunction with Jupiter gives positive emotions, expansive emotions. Venus is opposing Jupiter, so there can be situations in love that are very exaggerated, distorted, maybe one-sided, where one person is really giving their all to another and kind of like being unrealistic about what to expect from that other person. Maybe even unrealistic demands placed on another person that have to do with love. That is always an important lesson to learn, because a lot of times I think these delusions when it comes to love are actually due to the person's self-absorption, because they're not really connecting with why what they want is so unrealistic. They're living in their own fantasy. They're living in their own world. And so the end result is having something happen that is kind of like showing the person that they have been living in La La Land. And this is also heightened by the fact that at this time, Venus is squaring off to Neptune. When I see this in personal charts, I think of the person who attracts people that are not right for them. People who are addicted, people who are, mentally imbalanced, who just don't have it together. And the Venus square Neptune person is just steps in and is like, oh, I'll help you do this. Oh, you don't have a job? I'll support you. And there's no sense of the context. It's just that the person is looking for somebody that is beneath them, really, whether they know it or not. And they can feel like they are the benevolent one. They're the one who is taking care of this pathetic person. They would never think that in their mind, but that's what's happening. And these are imbalanced relationships. And Venus square Neptune is somebody who is trying to navigate life from this perspective, and maybe this is the time when they are finally made to see the truth of the situation. So the truth shall set us free. And this is in personal relationships as well. If you're living with somebody who is lying to you all the time, it's incredibly maddening. It really messes with your mind, but it also is something that dishonors you. So these things may come out because definitely, there are hard aspects from the sun and moon to Neptune. So sun, moon, Venus, and Jupiter are squaring off to Neptune. And that can lead to a lot of delusions going on. And you know what? Quite frankly, because we do have Jupiter transiting through Sag all year, and of course Neptune is in its own sign of Pisces, we have been seeing this alternative universe that has been playing itself out, where I'm speaking specifically in the United States, but I'm sure that it's kind of mirrored in other countries around the world, where some people are just completely thinking one thing, and then you have other people completely thinking something else. I have never in all my years seen anything like this. And it's like each side thinks the other one is nuts. That's the real doozy of that one. So we have a smattering of these, these squares, which are kind of hard angles and oppositions. And especially with the oppositions, there can be a projection where you are, if somebody is unaware, then they kind of accuse another person of something that they are actually engaging in. And they have no idea that it's actually them that is. So one thing that is really nice is that Mercury forms a trine with Neptune, and this can be great for any kind of manifestation through visualization. And, at least taking the first step of visualizing. Neptune it's not just fantasy. It's connecting to the spiritual realms. And also Mercury forms a conjunction with the North Node. So again, maybe brainstorming and coming up with ideas about your path, where you want to go, what it is that you're all about. Because the Cancer energy will be stronger a week after this, 2 weeks after this. This is kind of like the prelude of what's to come. But that is definitely wonderful. So there's a lot of mental energy that is good, because even with Mercury in conjunction with Mars, it is great for implementing ideas and taking action right away. And sometimes we overthink things and we kind of chew on them, and then we just kind of talk ourselves out of things. But this can be like you can make a lot of progress quickly when you're coming up with ideas. Maybe it's like coming up with ideas very quickly too, because Mars can be quite immediate. But also that idea of taking inspired action. So it could be quite productive. Let me see about Saturn. Yeah, well, Saturn is in conjunction with Pluto, so these are two planets that are associated with, transformation and organization. So it's very good for people who are trying to kind of better themselves, I would say. Okay, well, I'm looking forward to this. I'm a Sun in Sagittarius, so if you are somebody who is a sun in Sagittarius, or any of the mutable signs actually, within maybe a few degrees of that 25-degree mark, either way, this may affect you even more so. And for everybody, full moons can bring a lot of, how can I put it? I don't know how I feel at the time of full moon. I usually feel peaceful, I would say. Sometimes agitated, depending on, I guess, what sign the moon is in. I think this is going to be more celebratory. And I remember another time when, I don't know if it was last summer, when there was a full moon in Sagittarius, and everybody seemed like they were in party mode. So we shall see, but this could be very important for exposing a lot of secrets, I feel, and bringing the truth out and really freeing everybody because there are people who they're still very upset and confused, and this might be a step to more clarity in one's life. So I hope that you enjoyed this, and have a great full moon in Sag. Take care. Bye.